Okay. So welcome, everybody. It's possible that a few more folks will join in progress, but we've got a full program tonight that we're excited about, so we want to be sure to start promptly. For those of you who are new, I'm Tina Gilleret. I'm the co-chair of the Social Issues Committee, along with my colleague here, Nina Tortelli, just raised
Hello.
her hand. And we've got a really great program tonight. Two speakers. Taylor Neighbors is going to speak with us about homelessness. And then Maria Raboyo is going to share what's happening with the immigration situation and shortly followed. So with that further ado, I'm going to introduce Taylor. So Taylor is the CEO of Suncoast Partnership to Enter Homelessness. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Suncoast, Suncoast Partnership is responsible for coordinating all the efforts to prevent and reduce homelessness in Sarasota and Manatee counties. I've had the pleasure of working with Taylor and her team on several different initiatives over the last couple of years. So I'm really excited that she's able to join us and tell us a little more about how the homelessness system works and how it's funded, and how kind of current events are impacting us locally or potentially will impact us locally. So without further ado, as soon as we get the slide deck up, we'll have Taylor start her presentation, and then we'll take questions when she's finished. Welcome, Taylor. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I am happy to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having me. I have a couple of slides that I've put together, but mainly those slides are just to help to try to keep me on track. So if we could go to the presentation, I'm seeing social issues action
Oh
team
yeah,
meet. There we
there we
go.
go.
All right, next slide, please. Tina did give an overview of what we do. I'll go in a little bit more detail, but I won't get too in the weeds. I'm always happy if you have further questions or would like to meet or schedule a phone call. Happy to do that and speak in further detail. But Suncoast Partnership, we are the HUD designated lead agency for FL 500, our Continuum of Care, or COC, that serves Manatee and Sarasota County. We're responsible for leading the system efforts to prevent and end homelessness through collaboration with our service providers, our faith-based community, our elected officials, law enforcement, our generous funders, advocates, those with lived expertise in homelessness or housing instability, the business community, concerned citizens, and other stakeholders. We are the collaborative applicant, or the CA, when it comes to federal and state funding. So what that means is we respond to basically notices of funding opportunities that become available at the federal and state level. And we run a local competitive process with our service providers to submit applications. Once we have those applications and they are reviewed and scored by our review and ranking committee, we're able to submit basically a shared application to the funder, whether it's HUD or the state of Florida, and bring in those dollars. For HUD-funded projects, the money basically goes directly to the service provider, and we're responsible for monitoring their overall grant performance and compliance. When it comes to the state funding, we're heavily involved in not only the funds that come to the community, we pass those on to our service providers, so contract directly with them and do all the grant administration when it comes to invoicing and reimbursement, as well as monitoring. We administer the Homeless Management and Information System. Locally, we call that Community Services and Information System, or CSIS. We have about just under 40 agencies here in Manatee and Sarasota County that utilize that database to collaborate and track services, and most importantly, not duplicate efforts of the services that our clients that are experiencing homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless, tracking those services that are received. We are responsible for the annual point in time count that happens the last week of January, and it's basically a survey that we do in our community to count the number of folks experiencing homelessness, whether they're experiencing unsheltered homelessness outdoors or they are in a shelter. We combine that data and submit it to HUD. This year, with everything going on at the federal government, the deadline to submit the data has been pushed back until next Friday. So once we're able to submit those PIT numbers to HUD, we'll be able to roll out more of our community specific drill down numbers and share those with the community. We manage the coordinated entry system, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in just a minute. We lead the COC strategic planning efforts and implementation, as well as evaluation of those. We facilitate our leadership council, which is basically the governing board of the continuum of care, made up of folks that are elected to be on the leadership council or some folks that are appointed. Folks that are on the leadership council typically represent various aspects of our homeless crisis response system, or they represent a particular population that we serve, such as, older adults that experience homelessness or housing instability, LGBTQ plus, and then folks obviously that have lived experience in homelessness. We also facilitate our monthly or every other month continuum of care meetings where we bring everyone together to share resources and collaborate and vote on community initiatives. And then we host case conferencing for the different populations that we serve: veterans, families, individuals, and youth. That's bringing together the different case managers to collaborate on cases and get support and essentially solve housing issues that our clients are facing. And then we also manage the Suncoast Housing Collaborative, which is a partnership between agencies that are part of the collaborative and then local landlords. We are in partnership with landlords to relax criteria to be able to rent to our clients that are experiencing homelessness that may not come to the table with the best backgrounds, credit history, things of that nature, and incentivize those landlords in exchange to get those clients that we serve housed and providing that wraparound case management services. We can go to the next slide. Thank you so much. I'm briefly going to talk about the different components that make up our housing crisis response system. And like I said, if you need further explanation or detail, I'm happy to meet with you. But everything kind of originates in our outreach and coordinated entry system. Folks can go to various access points throughout both Sarasota and Manatee. Right now, we have access points at Turning Points as well as Salvation Army Manatee. And then we have our homeless outreach teams in Manatee that also serve as access points. Most of the time when someone presents to an access point, they're experiencing some sort of housing crisis. Either they're literally homeless or they're about to become homeless. And from there, what we always try to do first and foremost is really engage in prevention and diversion efforts. So if we're able to prevent someone's homelessness, that's always the best route in diverting clients from the homeless crisis response system. We have flexible funds in our community to be able to do that. We also have emergency shelter for folks that we're not able to divert or prevent from entering our system. In Manatee County, we have the Salvation Army shelter. And there's several other or a couple other shelters that are going to be coming online in the coming months in Manatee County. We also in our system have rapid rehousing, which is an up to 2-year type of housing intervention to get folks housed and provide wraparound services. Permanent supportive housing is more of a long-term intervention reserved for folks that are chronically homeless, so have a long-term history of being homeless and also suffer with a disability. The services that folks receive are pretty intense. And then, like I said, they receive not so much time limited rental assistance. It's not like rapid rehousing. It's really meant to be permanent. I will say that we do not have enough permanent supportive housing in our area, and we have a great need for that. So, and I will get to that and why that's so important later on in the presentation, but we can go on to the next slide. So the different funding that we manage specifically here at Suncoast Partnership, we've got federal funding that originates from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. We have state funding that comes from the Florida Department of Children and Families. And then we have some local funding that we administer through Manatee County government in the form of Emergency Solutions Grant. And then we also have private dollars at Suncoast Partnership that we utilize to support the community. Next slide. Okay, so I'll first talk a little bit about the federal funding that comes into our community. As I mentioned earlier, we are the collaborative applicant when it comes to applying for these funds. So right now, we're in fiscal year 2024 as it relates to HUD. HUD is a little bit behind in their fiscal year, so sometimes it gets a little bit confusing. So our community was awarded just over $2 million. And you'll see that we have, with this grant, it includes permanent supportive housing projects, which are operated by the Salvation Army Sarasota, as well as community assisted and supported living. We have rapid rehousing projects that are administered by St. Vincent de Paul Cares, as well as Salvation Army Sarasota. Suncoast Partnership receives funding from HUD to operate the HMIS system, or locally as we call it, Community Services Information System. We receive funding to operate coordinated entry. So much of the funding available in our community has to go through coordinated entry. And we at Suncoast Partnership are responsible for getting folks connected to the funding. When folks go to access points, like I talked about earlier, they can have an assessment done. That assessment comes to our office. We've put client information on a community by name list. And then when we have agencies that have opportunities that open up in their housing projects, whether it's a permanent supportive housing or a rapid rehousing project, we're able to take that community by name list and make referrals. So we do have a designated person in-house that does that here at Suncoast Partnership. They play an incredibly crucial role in getting people connected. And then we receive a planning grant from HUD, which really helps us as Suncoast Partnership, as the lead agency, to really coordinate and facilitate the efforts surrounding how our community responds to our homeless and housing crisis that we are experiencing. The state of Florida, the funding, as I mentioned, comes from the Florida Department of Children and Families. And in this current fiscal year, 24-25, we received just over $2 million. It's important to note that the federal funding that comes into our community, as well as the state funding that comes into our community, can be utilized in both Manatee and Sarasota County, because that's our catchment area. So you will notice that we have basically 3 challenge grants that come into our community. Challenge grant overall is supposed to be a pretty flexible funding source. Some of the other funding sources listed, like ESG, have a lot of different regulations. But how we utilize our challenge grant funding in our community is that we help support diversion and early intervention services, as well as prevention services, which does include providing direct financial assistance to clients. We support some bridge beds at the Salvation Army Sarasota to basically support clients that are going through a rapid rehousing project through St. Vincent de Paul. They can stay in a bridge bed while they are working with a case manager in rapid rehousing. We also support some of our coordinated entry efforts through Challenge Grant. We also have Challenge Grant unsheltered funding. That was a new funding source that we received this year to really bring mental health and substance abuse services to the shelters that we have in our communities, as well as some of the day centers. So that funding, Salvation Army Sarasota has a portion of that to operate their shelter. But then we also partnered with Centerstone to be able to come into places like Turning Points or Salvation Army Manatee and provide those mental health and substance abuse services, group therapy services, life skills classes, things of that nature. Our Emergency Solutions Grant helps fund things like rapid rehousing, the HMIS system, so that originates from the federal government, and then the federal government contracts with the state. We contract with the state, and then we push that out to our providers. It is a highly restrictive grant. There's a lot of regulations that we have to follow when it comes to that. One of the other funding sources that we receive is what is called as RUSH, Rapid Unsheltered Survivor Housing. And that funding source came down as a result of the hurricanes that we've experienced over the last several years here in Southwest Florida to, support folks that were homeless prior to the hurricane and get them housed as quickly as possible and provide those wraparound services. Our staffing grant mainly supports the work that we do here at Suncoast Partnership to support the community. And then we have our TANF grant, which is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. Right now, Turning Points holds that grant, and it is to work with families in a homeless prevention capacity. So folks that have that get behind with their rent, get 3-day notices to help prevent them from coming into homelessness, and to really work on housing sustainability. It has a pretty high focus on case management. And that's really the true essence of the grant, is to help people, stay housed through case management services. Next slide. Thank you. And then some of our local funding. This is the first year that we have partnered with Manatee County government to administer their emergency solutions grant dollars. We have done that in the past with Sarasota County. And then Manatee County caught wind that we did that and entered into a partnership with Suncoast Partnership. So that total award, and HUD is some of the grants that we have are several years behind, just because of how things kind of work with the feds and when grants get, signed and things like that. But the allocation is $153,000. We receive a small amount for admin to be able to administer the grant. And then $145,000 is reserved for rapid rehousing to get those clients that are experiencing homelessness into housing quickly, and then provide those wraparound services. The grant actually is, we are contracted with the Salvation Army Manatee. So they are responsible for serving those folks. And with this grant, since it is, from Manatee County, it is reserved strictly for Manatee County residents. So when we look at our community by name list, we have to be very careful that when we submit referrals over to Salvation Army, that folks are truly Manatee County residents. Okay. What I wanted to talk a little bit about, and some of you may be familiar, is President Trump's proposed fiscal year 2026 skinny budget. I will kind of preface the conversation that things are changing pretty rapidly at the federal government, and there's just been, since January, a number of issues that have arisen that we have tried to respond to. I mean, we were in a position, back in January where we weren't sure if we were even going to get our fiscal year 2024 funding for our COC. And luckily contracts have started rolling in. But then we worry about, okay, what happens when fiscal year 25 rolls around? And then obviously now with fiscal year 26, which would most likely impact agencies and their fiscal year 27 budget. But like I said, things are constantly changing. And what I just received today, and some of the revisions that have been done to President Trump's skinny budget, is that what they want to do at the federal level and what is being proposed to Congress is that basically the continuum of care programs, which is what I shared, our federal funding, that's just over $2 million. Those homeless assistance grants, as well as the housing opportunities for persons with AIDS, the HOPWA grants, what would basically happen is they would be consolidated into the Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG. And when I spoke a few minutes ago, I talked about how restrictive ESG is. If you've ever worked on ESG, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And with that, there would be a cut between ESG, COC funding, and HOPWA funding of about $532 million. How that kind of breaks out is that about $27 million for homeless assistance grants would be reduced, and then it would essentially zero out the funding available for HOPWA. So there wouldn't be housing funding available for the thousands of people that are living with HIV and AIDS. Right now in our community, Catholic Charities received housing vouchers specifically to work with folks that struggle with HIV and AIDS. So if this funding, if this ends up happening, basically there wouldn't be funding and those folks would be out on the streets. Moving much of the, moving the COC funds over to ESG funding would essentially eliminate permanent supportive housing. And when I talked about permanent supportive housing earlier, I talked about how we already don't have enough permanent supportive housing in our area. And these are some of our most vulnerable clients. These are the folks that are long-term, chronically homeless, have disabilities, that could potentially be out on the streets. Over the last year, our community between Salvation Army Sarasota and Castle Community Assisted and Supported Living have served about 60 households in permanent supportive housing. So if this were to happen, it would be catastrophic to our area. Not only that, but funding for COC planning would be gone, which would greatly impact our organization and then the services that we're able to provide to the community. Coordinated entry funding would also be impacted when it comes to that. And that's how we get folks connected to the housing opportunities in our community. So not only are we dealing with our, homeless assistance projects that are at risk from HUD, you have a ton of other cuts that are being proposed to, Medicaid, Section 8 vouchers, LIHEAP, emergency food and shelter assistance. A lot of these grants that we partner with is what really helps keep people from becoming homeless. So we're going to have, if this goes through and Congress approves, we're going to have people that were formerly homeless that have been housed back on the streets. We're going to have folks that we could have potentially prevented from becoming homeless on the streets. So obviously this is catastrophic. We don't want this to happen. This would be absolutely devastating for our community. We always talk about in our community, we don't have enough affordable housing. Well, a lot of the affordable housing developments that were coming online rely on some of these housing vouchers to fill the units. And that's part of the, to get these housing opportunities online, you have to have that. So I don't know if some of these projects in the works, what's going to happen with that, if that's going to stall out, but it's going to create a lot of issues when it comes to that. And these housing vouchers, like I said, whether it's for affordable housing developments or even our housing choice Section 8 vouchers, they are essential component to our homeless crisis response system and keeping our most vulnerable housed. So with that being said, and sorry to be the bearer of bad news, there are ways that you can take action, ways to get involved. First and foremost, you can call your lawmakers in DC and really advocate for this proposed budget not to be approved. And one of the things we're looking at and what we would ask, Congress to consider is basically about $4.9 billion to help support HUD's homeless assistance grants, which are vital to preventing and ending homelessness in our community. You can send a personalized email to your lawmaker's office. We work very closely with the National Alliance to End Homelessness. They're kind of our go-to when it comes to advocacy and policy and best practices and really driving how we do our work in the community and serve our clients. If you go to their website, and I have a link in the PowerPoint, you can actually go there, fill out the online advocacy form, and they will send a message to your member of Congress on your behalf. So I am really hoping that with our advocacy, we can help prevent this. But I did want to just communicate to you guys what that would look like for our community and the devastating impact if this were to happen. We are already in enough of a housing crisis here in our area. If this were to go through, we would really be in a even more severe crisis. So I'm happy to answer any questions or comments. Hopefully I didn't take too much of your time.
Tina, you're muted.
Thank you. Before we open it up for questions, we probably have time for one or two. Just want to reinforce a couple really important points that you made. Is one, how this would just be very devastating to permanent supportive housing, and how those truly are the most vulnerable people in the community. How the cuts to other services, whether it's Medicaid or food assistance and so on, will have ripple effects on homelessness, and vice versa. Just the impact on the COC and how this would impact us locally. But I know, I want to give other folks a chance to ask questions. I know Barb had a couple of questions in the chat. If you want to go first, Barb, and then see if anybody else has questions in the bit of time that we've got.
Thank you. Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much, Taylor, for this information. I was just wondering, of the federal and state dollars that come to this catchment area, how much actually comes to Manatee County?
So the federal and state dollars are available for both Manatee and Sarasota. And so when we're connecting clients to services, it's for both areas. So it's across our COC, the funds.
Right, but I'm wondering, do you keep data on the expenditure of those funds and how much of the money actually comes to people in Manatee?
Yes, we could certainly, there's a way we could do that in our system to get that data, to be able to kind of pinpoint that down by zip code. I don't have that information available, but certainly we could produce that.
That would be very helpful to us, especially those of us in stream who are working with the league as well. That would be very helpful information. We would appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a hand up?
Just
Yes.
an observation, Taylor. You mentioned which groups have been largely affected by the work that's been done, but I think there's also a pretty significant problem here for seniors because they're involved in many of these issues, and it's an increasing problem rather than a decreasing problem.
Taylor, do we know, I know Commissioner Ballard has been expressed concern about seniors too, of any specific funding for seniors. I am not aware of any, but I had wanted to ask that question as well.
That's a really good question. There isn't specific funding dedicated for seniors, at least with the funding that we deal with and in the community. I'm not, aware of specific, funding.
Taylor is, Judy has her hand up. Sorry, Judy.
Oh, that's all right. There's so much to think about, isn't there? That was really good, Taylor, and I'm so glad that you are leaving us or suggesting the impact of this budget crisis, because I think that's an area that we as a league committee might actually be able to help with in terms of advocacy and help. And we'd really like to keep in touch and talk more about it. I have a specific question related to that. I have a friend I actually met in the Point in Time survey 2 years ago because I helped take care of her cat. And she's now facing homelessness again. She's been working with Turning Points, but they need to have a statement from Social Security about what she gets in disability. She's been on the phone with Social Security waiting for hours and hours. And and now she's going to try to go tomorrow to be in person at the Sarasota office, though she lives for the next 3 days or whatever in Bradenton. Is there any impact on like groups like Turning Points now who are finding people like that who really can't get the information they need from federal agencies in order to move forward? Because there isn't somebody to answer the phone, and is it having an impact on the direct services that you already provide?
That's always a challenge, even before all of this kind of started with the federal government. Anytime, I mean, if you've ever personally had to deal with the IRS or whatever, you're on the phone for hours. I would say in a case like this, and I'm not sure like what Turning Points, what grant they're, looking at and what the, parameters are. Some of it's very strict and you have to have, X, Y, and Z. But if there's an alternative way that, we can prove her income, looking at bank statements, just to show that until, she can maybe get something from Social Security. There's some grant, maybe there's another grant that doesn't have this, requirement to show that they're, that the person has income. Some grants don't require sustainability, most do. But sometimes, there's sometimes ways around that. Unfortunately, I don't have a direct contact at Social Security. I wish we did, because we oftentimes deal with folks that have issues with their SSI, SSDI. But I'm hoping she can get some sort of resolution. And yeah, I mean, I think as we get further into this and there's more cuts across the board in federal agencies, it's going to get harder just to be able to, like you said, just get a piece of paper of, someone's income. I'm thinking about food stamps as well. A lot of times, our clients have issues with their, their food stamps, and trying to get, someone on the line or someone in person just to, answer a simple question is quite cumbersome.
And Judy, I would be happy to, continue this, conversation after the meeting as well. So you and Taylor and I could, chat more about the specifics if it would help. But I think in the interest of time, we will turn it over shortly to Nina to introduce Maria. But Taylor, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be following up, after the meeting with any wrap up. But really appreciating you being able to make the call and share all this great information with us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Do we have one more time for Marie Lynn, who has had her hand up for a while?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Mary Lynn. I
Mary Lynn,
thought that was Judy being redundant. And
You want to be quick, and
forgetting
then,
to take her hand down.
and then I'll be more than happy to introduce Maria, my dear friend. Okay, Marie Lynn.
Yeah, if we could see again the action website, or the link to take action. It was the next to last slide. I went to the webpage, but I can't find anything there.
I think it'll be sent out.
Give me a
won't it?
second. For some reason, it's just frozen
Yeah.
on me.
Tina,
And we could send out after the
we're
meeting
going to send.
as
I
well.
think we'll send that
Somebody
out.
could put it in chat. Put it in chat, please.
Yeah, just a second.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you my dear friend, Maria Raboyo. And she and I are members of the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. And Maria is a dynamo. She has really organized from the grassroots the Immigration Justice Coalition Sarasota. But now we're moving into Manatee. She's an amazing organizer, a motivator, and has a great team that you'll hear about, and you'll really learn how this grassroots immigration justice team or coalition has come together. And so Maria, say hi to all, and then you can start your amazing presentation, Maria.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me today. So yes, I am part of the Unitarian Universalist Immigration Justice Coalition. And can we start with the PowerPoint presentation, please?
I'm working on it. There we go.
Thank you.
For some reason it froze, but it's up now.
Yes.
Perfect. Great. Let's go to the next slide, please.
Just a second. I'm sorry. I'm having some technical issues here. Let me try this. Nope.
Okay, so we are
I'm working on it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
Tranquilito. This is the craziest thing. It's like it's quit responding. Is this it?
Yeah.
That's it. Yes,
Okay.
perfect. I show here on the right, there are the values of the Unitarian Universalist. And if you can see, there is one group that is called justice. So we are under that part, under that value, justice. We are a new group. We started working just this January. We have in the executive committee, we had 13 people, but total we had 65 volunteers helping us. Our mission, next please. Next please. So our mission, we are a community that advocates for and support our immigrants, refugees, and asylum-seeking neighbors. Our purpose, we advocate for the rights and fair treatment of immigrants in the area by providing resources, raising awareness, fostering community support, and promoting policies to ensure equal access to justice, safety, and opportunities for all individuals regardless of immigration status. Next, please. So I am the convener. We had 3 groups. We had the advocacy team. Matthew Montalbon is the coordinator. Networking team, Juan Pablo Salas, and with informing and educating is Maria Lara. We are working with the advocacy team, working with lobbying. Part of our action plan is to send letters to the editors. We had a campaign. We're going to meet with county sheriffs, city police, school superintendents, and hospital board members. One of the big efforts that we are doing right now, we are going to identify social media sites, join ICE raids and detention, and create fund tree to share, because this is a big deal that is happening right now. And just today, I am so proud to share with you that we are going to send a press release, and it says basically, the Immigration Justice Coalition of Sarasota is issuing a condemnation of ICE arrests of immigrants, attending court proceedings, and is urging immigrants to seek virtual hearing to the extent if this is possible. And we want that immigrants avoid going to court appearances where legally able to do so. This is something that is going lately. This is crazy. When the immigrants are going to court, they are going to be detained and deported. So we learned just last week by lawyers who know very much about this situation that they can do these hearings, they can do virtually. So we are going to send this press release tomorrow for people to educate immigrants to do this. Also in the lobbying part, we are contacting representatives, and I'm going to talk in the next slides about the 5 calls apps that we are promoting. We are part of a lot of organizations, other organizations who are working with rallies, and we support them. At this point, we haven't organized our own, but we are supporting other organizations, and we have been present in other rallies. And by the way, I motivate you, and I like to invite you for the June 14 rally that is going to be in Sarasota in downtown. The other group, the networking team, we are working to...
Marie,
Yes.
let's go back 1 slide. I think they moved ahead on the executive team. I think we're going back. So you're looking at your, yeah, there you go. Are you looking at networking? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I am working about the team structure. So the networking team, we are contacting other organizations who are working with immigration issues, like your organization, to work together and see how can we help. With the team informing and educating, we are doing a lot with this. And we divided this team in 2 parts. Number 1, we wanted to empower and support immigrants. And we have done through the distribution of the Know Your Rights cards. It's a big campaign that we have done. We have been in some churches and some Latino businesses distributing these red cards and other literature. We provide lists of resources and affordable legal services to the immigrants. And we are trying to raise public awareness. We have done 2 big events at Unitarian Universalist. We had presented about 2 months ago a video that was separated and that is informing, educating people about what happened a couple years ago. And we had another event about a month ago. It was the panel discussion. We invited three immigration lawyers to talk about what's going on regarding immigration and deportation. We are trying to contact different organizations to work together and inform communities. And we are going to have a big event with you, with your organization on June 14th. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Next slide, please. So we had executive team. I don't want to go, it's a long list. We had different organizations. We had Lula, Maria Lara is from Lula. We had the First Congregation in Sarasota. We had the Jewish Alliance, part of us. Also, we do have the League of Women Voters in Sarasota, and we had the Create Art Latino. We had about 5 or 6 organizations part of this coalition. And what we do, our responsibilities, so we are meetings, actually, we are meeting every other 3 weeks. Normally, we had so much to do. We had been getting meetings very often. We do team reports. We identify actions going forward. We are going to focus in metrics updates. That is very important, and talking about new opportunities. Next slide, please. So this is a big working group, like you said. So we had about 2 weeks ago, we had a launch for volunteers in the congregation and the public, and identify people who are willing to help us. And we invited them to participate in those 3 groups. So you can see that we have people with lobbying and community and networking and empowering. Information and education is very popular. We are having conversations every week now with these groups, either through Zoom meetings or present meetings. Next slide, please. And what is the criteria for people to become a member? So for a person who has signed with the coalition, by providing their contact information is one way. Another way is to people who subscribe already or show us interest on being part of the Mobilize announcements. And the other one, the last one, is people who are willing to donate to our funds. Next slide, please. So the wonderful thing that we did, our congregation create this new way to communicate, mobilize. We sent it already, we advertised this campaign, this activity that we are going to do with you, with your organization, that is going to be on Wednesday, June 18th. We are going to start meeting at 9:30 in Durham for people, in Sarasota, for people who are willing to work with some businesses there. And then we are going to go to Manatee County to work with them, with you guys, and starting at 10:30 to go to a couple of businesses in Manatee County. So people who wants to sign for the Mobilize, they sign here and inform us if they wanted to be informed with the next. Let me have the next slide and I explain what I'm talking about. Here, with this information.
Yes.
Next slide, please. Here we are trying to identify what the action taking and opportunities. For instance, we wanted to invite people to understand more about immigration issues, raise awareness, what is happening right now with heart of the deportation plan, participate in the campaign, Know Your Rights, and work with the networking that I didn't mention. advocate for compassionate immigration policies, monitor and report abuses of immigrants and their families, support immigrants and other organizations and civil rights. And today, like I say, we did work, we create a new press release. And the press release says that we are, the Immigration Justice Coalition is urging again to people be present, and don't go to the hearing, but be with the virtual. And this is something that just we are sending today. Next slide, please. So with this slide, we are being part of this campaign. The 5051 Florida Voices is organizing this campaign on June 14. We are inviting people. You see the flyer. So we are going to get together at 5:30. And at 6 p.m., there are going to be speakers. We are going to get together at the J. Hammer Park. And at 7 p.m., we are going to march. We are going to go to across the bridge. So I do invite all of you, if you are available, please join us to protect. This is very important. Next slide, please. So I don't want to talk about this very much, this videotaping police, because it's something that people, it's something new that probably you are not going to be part of these activities, but it's a new law that has been, the HALO law is a new law. If you go on to a place and you are going to videotape, you have to be apart 25 foot. It's a new law that was effect on January 1st, 2025. The next slide, please. Next slide, I mentioned that already. This one. So I wanted to talk a little bit about these 5 calls apps. This is very important for us. And we sent this email about a month ago. We suggested to please contact the legislators and ask them to vote no on any immigration bill that supports the cruel and inhumane mass deportation agenda. So here are the 4 contact the 2 senators and the 2 representatives. I hope that you had this app with you. If you don't have it, you can make a copy or take a picture or download it for free on your phone. Next slide, please. So this is a very simple way. I know that you are very familiar. So one of the suggestions that we had lately is this one, block increase for ICE and mass deportation on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, passed House, and the bill is the HR1. So if you are calling, for instance, Rick Scott, you can say, my name is Maria Raboyo. I am a constituent from Sarasota, Manatee, whatever. I am calling to urge Senator Rick Scott to oppose HR1, the House Budget Reconciliation Bill that increases funding for ICE and Trump's mass deportation operation. ICE has been unlawfully detaining immigrants around the country without cause or due process, which should be stopping them from violating people's constitutional rights, not enabling them to do it more. And thank you for your time. And you can leave your name, and please don't forget to leave your street address. It's very important. And it's something that we are inviting you to be part of this campaign. We need to get together. We need to work together. We need your support. This is a difficult time that our immigrants, that we are living in this country. We need your help. We need your support. Thank you for your time. And if you have any question, please let me. I am here. I am for you. Thank you.
Maria, there are a few questions in the chat. And and we can address those, or people that have asked them can ask them at this point. When do we, okay. How many people are at risk of being deported in Sarasota and Manatee counties with the current federal policies? Do you have any idea about that?
Well, I don't know those numbers exactly, but what I know is that because on May 14, Trump canceled the humanitarian parole for Venezuelans, people from Haiti, Nicaragua, and Cuba. There are about 350,000 Venezuelans in jeopardy to lose this benefit. How many here in Sarasota and Manatee County? Exactly, I don't know.
And okay, another question is, do you know if county gets additional funds for ICE enforcement from the feds or whatever that's coming? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from our local dollars? We know that the sheriffs have now been deputized for
both.
Yeah.
They are getting money from the federal government and they are getting money from the state, from both sources. And now all the different departments are receiving funds to support ICE.
Do anyone else from the gallery want to raise their hand if they have a question for Maria? Any additional questions?
Aside from the funding part of it, do the county sheriffs have capacity and enough deputies to be able to do this work?
Say again?
Do the sheriffs have enough jail cells and deputies to be able to do the work that the federal government is asking them to do?
Thank you for that. And last night, it was a report that the jails here in Sarasota County and in Florida, in total in Florida, there is no space more. They are full. They don't know where can go and put more people. They have to send to other places. But Florida is full. They don't have any more places for people who have been detained.
So Maria has shared with me, you might share with the group about kind of what the atmosphere, what's happening, how people are feeling out on the streets, because you're out there often. And
yes.
What can you share something?
Yes, people are very afraid. People don't want to go. One of the persons shared with me something very painful. She said, my husband is going to buy groceries after 9 p.m. because he is afraid going earlier to go shopping. My children are very worried, are very nervous. They don't know exactly what's going on. The husbands, I don't know if you are aware what happened a couple of days ago in Tallahassee. They were to a construction place and they detained 100 people. So now what's going on is that workers don't want to go to work. And yesterday, if you see the Herald Sun, there was announcement, some information in the newspaper saying that the construction contractors are very angry because they are not going to have enough employees. So we are going to have a conversation. Our coalition is going to have a meeting with construction contractors, landscaping contractors, and restaurant managers to see what are the consequences for them and how can they support us.
Right. And
this is very painful for the community. People are scared. They are afraid to going out. I went to St. Jude Church to do a presentation about a month ago, and the big surprise was it was only 70% of people who used to go because people are afraid going out again.
Even to church. I think, Linda, you have your hand up for a question.
Yeah, Stubbe and Buchanan and Moody in particular seem to come out strongly supporting Trump's anti-immigrant agenda. And I guess I'm asking is, are any of your organizations having more personal conversation, because a soundbite for the media, you know, he's got to be Mr. Tough Guy, but is there any room? Do you think these people are going to find their hearts?
So I don't know, Linda, you're familiar that it was a town hall meeting about 2 or 3 weeks ago here in Sarasota, and
I was there.
Stuve was invited, and he
Yeah.
never showed up.
You're talking about with Frost and Miller. Yeah, I was there.
Correct.
Yes.
He didn't show up. There had been different people from our congregation who told me they had sent in calls, texts, emails, and he never answered. He never tried to respond, to get engaged. There is no answer. He is completely out of the picture. He's not supporting us in any way.
No, that's what I expected. My niece is married to a gentleman from Mexico. He's naturalized, but his brother is DACA. They declined to go visit family. They were going to go to Mexico this summer because they're actually afraid that Antonio will have his, even though he's citizen, naturalized, that somehow they would mess with him. So they're afraid to go. And of course, the brother that's DACA is afraid to even go to work.
Yeah, he has probably is no citizenship that they have they had a special permit to work and have driver license. And the painful thing with DACA is that they had working so hard to get documentation, and even they cannot get a green card, a simple green card, and they are in jeopardy right now. That Trump can say any moment, can say DACA is completely eliminated, and again put these people in limbo. And I don't know, Linda, if you are aware that people with DACA, do you know that they have to pay every 2 years in order to renew that status? They have to pay $700. This is amazing. They have to pay from their pocket $700 every 2 years to maintain the status. This is a big business for the government.
Yeah. Wow, there's so much that we can talk about and share about this. I think there's been a question, I think, about the PDF. I think it's available, right? Your slide presentation too.
Yes.
Are we, Tina, sending this out to the attendees or it's coming as a part of the recording is, right? But
we should have people's login information. So assuming we don't have any issues with that, we can send the slides out after the call.
Right. And so something a little bit for clarification is that the rally on the 14th that's happening in Sarasota, we have many in Manatee as well. And so we, as you stressed, Maria does so well, is that we're all working on this together and sharing information. And one thing that you also will get probably as an attachment, as a review of this meeting, is a thing, it's called Resources for Immigrants. And it's this is one of the things that Maria hands out, and we hand out on the streets to people. It has all kinds of resources, including legal resources, but also an immigration guide that gives definitions. I mean, about DACA, or all the definitions of all these terms that we don't I don't know what they are. And also how to report an encounter, and also if you know someone who's detained, where to find them. So this guide will be sending out to you.
And it's in English and in Spanish.
Yes.
And if you wanted to find it, you can go to the Unitarian Universalist website, and it's going to be under Justice, and under Justice is going to be Immigration, and all the information that you needed is there.
Nine, I thought I saw a couple of folks kind of starting to raise their
okay, yes, John
if
Lowe.
I don't know, Maria, if you can take a couple more questions before we wrap. Okay, yes. I see Mr. Lowe has his hand up.
Yeah, my question is, you know, looking at that mass arrest up there near Tallahassee, I think that was a construction site.
Yes.
The contractors must have been hurt pretty bad. I mean, it must have been pretty tough on them to lose those workers. Have we heard any backlash from any of the corporations that are being hurt financially by what ICE is doing to their employees?
Yes, they sent a letter. They sent a letter. I wish to be able to open it right now. They sent a letter yesterday to all the newspaper informing how bad they had been affected. In the Herald Sun, you are able to check the paper yesterday. The contractor that you mentioned in Tallahassee, they are talking about how bad they had been affected with this. And the governor, they are inviting the governor, DeSantis, to do something. And like I say, this is a great opportunity for us as the coalition to contact all these constructor guys and all of these business people to work as an alliance, because we need them for our support.
It would be, I don't want to crowd out anybody else with a question, but it would be interesting if we could have a major piece in the newspaper, like a half a page, and solicit some money from the people that are being financially hurt. I'm talking about businesses now. Of course, we know what's happening to the immigrants, and say the government needs to stop what they're doing because it's being devastating to the economy in Florida. Obviously, it's being devastating for the economy of the immigrants. But I guess people sometimes understand money when they don't understand compassion.
Good point.
Okay, sure.
Judy has her
Judith?
hand up.
Judith?
Did you say, Maria, something about it's possible to have court dates online on Zoom, not showing up in person? And how
Correct.
do people arrange that?
Correct. People can talk with their lawyer and check if there is a possibility that they can have the hearing virtually and avoid going physically to the court. That's something that we learned last week through lawyers who know very well about this situation. And that's the reason that we're going to send this press release tomorrow to the Latino community and to all the immigrants to understand about this possibility.
That's really good to know, because they have been just waiting there for people and taking them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That will be a good way for them to be educated about this. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think with that, we will round it out. Tina, did you want to do some closing comments as well?
Sure. So thanks everybody. Thanks to our great presenters. As far as next steps, we'll plan to send out the materials after the meeting. If there are any follow-up questions, we'll be happy to share them with the speakers. And as far as next meeting, we probably will not be having our regularly scheduled July meeting, but mark your calendars for an event that we're having on July 17th, where we're going to have a hot topics type of event at noon that day, and we'll have the United Way presenting the highlights of their Alice report, which affects many of the issues that we're passionate about, not just the affordable housing and homelessness, but education, childcare, healthcare, and so on. But they'll be presenting their findings about how lower income folks are really struggling in our community and how we might be able to help. So we'll be promoting that and sending out to the distribution list, but just a heads up.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. You'll be getting the links for all the different resources you've heard today. See you next.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Stop
everybody.
recording.
Shit.